Hello and welcome everybody to Blimp Hunter, all about airships. Today we have a Microsoft Flight Simulator 24 Goodyear Zeppelin NT airship flight over Frankfurt in Germany. And this is an absolutely stunning, real existing flight experience you can book with the Deutsche Zeppelin Reederei at Friedrichshafen. And once a year they come over to Frankfurt and over these flights for a few days only. And it's an absolutely stunning possibility to see the beautiful city of Frankfurt from the air. It's a bucket list item, so join me now and have fun. As we want to have the simulation flight matching as much as possible the real-life experience, we also pick and choose the Farmers Field at the Kronhofen Bad Homburg as our departure location. Please be sure to have the airship in a ready-to-take-off mode chosen. Otherwise we are getting into trouble because it's not an airfield and then the ship is just departing without us. So please pick and choose the airship ready to take off. The Kronhofen Bad Homburg is also historically connected to airships. Back in 1910 it was the German Emperor who witnessed at the Luftschiffparade, the airship parade, 3 different basic designs of airships taking part in maneuvers. It was the Zeppelin, the Parseval airship and the airship from Major Gross, standing for the rigid, non-rigid and semi-rigid airship designs. Today the Kronenhof offers a nice restaurant with its own brewery, the brewery Graf Zeppelin. And if you are going inside the location, you will find a lot of images and photographs of old historic airships, so it's really a must-see for every airship fan. As soon as we start the flight, we have to set the thrusters to 0 and also adjust the RPMs a bit, because the ship is directly tending to ascend to start to take off. And that's something which is of course connected to the airship in ready to take off mode. But the other option to have it in a shutdown version or mode is not working, since we are not at an airfield and then the ship is just simply flying away with us as a captain outside, so that's also not an option. So we have to try to find a way on keeping the ship first stable on the ground, and then of course we can use our procedure to take off with the ship as usual. Now you can see that also the airship compared to the Farmers Field size is quite big, which also means that for the landing it is quite tough to get it managed well. But as it is working in real life, we can also manage it in the simulation. And also let's have a look at the beautiful skyline of Frankfurt in the background, which is also in real life a beautiful sight. Now back in the cockpit, of course we prepare for our departure. So the first thing we are going to do is have the swiveling of the side engines done, also have the RPMs increased again, then also the thrusters for the side engines increased, but first also have the rear engine tilted downward to 90 degrees as well. And now we are increasing the thrusters for the side engines and also the rear engine, and we can see how beautifully the ship is just lifting and taking off.
Frankfurt Anflug.
Okay, now we set the rear engine swivel mechanism to 0 degree.
Fordere Flugroutenverfolgung an.
Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra, Frankfurt Anflug, Squawk 1571.
And finally also the side engine swivel mechanism to 0 degree as well, so we just get horizontal thrust.
X-Ray Golf Sierra, Radarkontakt 1 Meilen West von Echo Delta, Echo India Alpha, 1000, QNH 1013.
Roger, X-Ray Golf Sierra.
So first of all, we are departing towards east, southeast, until we reach the Autobahn, the Highway A5, which we then will follow southwards towards the city center of Frankfurt. Now you can see that we are approaching the highway, which means we will now certainly follow this highway southward, and then we will continue towards the city center, which will then be on the left-hand side later on. Yeah, on the left-hand side you can see the skyline is getting closer, but still quite in a distance, so we have to make our way through still towards the south, and then we'll fly in from the west, so we have then to turn east to get into the city. There are quite a number of interesting sites, which I will also give you a bit of explanation quickly what you can see, and then yeah, we'll continue our way. So as you can see, we are quite in the middle, quite centrally between the city center, so to say, and the low mountain ranges of the Taunus, so these hills or small mountains in the back. And yeah, we are slowly approaching the city of Frankfurt. Looking through the window on the left, you can now see something approaching on the left hand side, which is actually the headquarter of the automotive supplier, formerly Continental, now Aumovio. And what is quite interesting to see is that you can also see the test track of this company, and this was also rebuilt in the simulation, which is pretty cool. And yeah, one first interesting site. We are now at Eschborn. Maybe as an additional fun fact, since I was talking about Continental, so the company Continental, also well known for tires, is actually the company who has built the tires for the old historic airships Hindenburg and Graf Zeppelin No. 2. So quite an airship tradition here with this company as well. So in the far distance you can see the airport Frankfurt coming up. This airport was originally opened as an airship port and airport, so a combination of airships and airplanes back in 1936, and from here also the Hindenburg started the transatlantic crossings from 1936 on. And some more airship history appearing on the left hand side now. You can see this area with a structure which looks like a big white tent, which was a swimming pool, one of the biggest ones in Frankfurt. But actually this is no more existing. But this area, which we have a look at now from the on the left hand side, is actually the so-called Rebstock-Gelände, the Rebstock area. And in this area there was the airport from Frankfurt before it was at the location where it is today. And it started in 1912 with the airship base from the Delac, which was the first airline. And from there sightseeing tours with airships were made back in the days before World War I. What you can also see now very clearly is the River Main flowing through Frankfurt. On the right hand side you can also see the stadium, which is now going outside of the view. On the left hand side you can see the fairground of Frankfurt approaching, and in this area in 1909 the International Airship and Aviation Exhibition, the ILA, International Luftschifffahrtsausstellung, was taking place, which gave Frankfurt a strong push towards the aviation industry and also the following aviation activities in the Rhine-Main area. Now you can see we are heading towards the main station of Frankfurt. You see all the rail tracks in front of us, and we will fly south of this main station, so over the River Main basically, and then you will have a nice beautiful view, not just on the main station but also then on the financial district buildings, the skyscrapers on the left hand side. On the left-hand side, approaching the red building, is the Kaiserdom, the Emperor's Cathedral. Then you have the Paulskirche, the St. Paul's Church, and also the Römerberg. The Römerberg is where also the Lord Mayor's building is and was. And many parts of the historic part of Frankfurt had to be rebuilt because they were completely destroyed during World War II. In front of us is the European Central Bank building approaching. The skyscraper directly close to the River Main. On the left hand side you can now see also the Zeil, the shopping area, and also the Hauptware as a historic building. And further in the rear you can see as a historic building also the old opera building, the Alte Oper. On the right hand side you can see the Botanic Garden of Frankfurt, which is the Palmengarten, and also the university. On the right hand side you can also see the Europa-Turm, the Europa Tower, a TV tower, Fernsehturm, which is actually also since a long time a very famous site of the Frankfurt skyline. So, time to leave Frankfurt downtown area again, heading towards the northwest area where we have departed from, the Kronenhof in Bad Homburg. So I hope you really enjoyed this flight over Frankfurt, and of course now we have still some way to go and finally to land the ship safely at the Kronenhof farmers field.
X-Ray Golf Sierra, Verkehr auf 6 Uhr, 4, auf 3700, Airbus A320.
Now maybe also some time to mention how nicely the interior was actually replicated of this Zeppelin NT airship. As you can see, it's like it is in real life, with the big windows, and everybody has a window seat. It's really beautiful to experience the nature, the countryside, the cities, whatever sites we are looking at from this airship, and I just can really recommend it. You may also see in my other videos some of the real life footage, so you may also want to spot this. But that's just to mention, if you have the chance and if you are interested in aviation and especially maybe in airships, then you have to have a look and come to Germany to book your flight and make a ride like this. One more time in the background, the Frankfurt airport. our landing site now approaching in front of us. So, starting the landing procedure now. Again, this is not fitting very well to the real life, but this is the way of how I am landing the Goodyear Blimp here in the simulator. So we are now having the swivel mechanism for the rear engine adjusted to 90 degrees, so that we have a vertical thrust, and this will bring the nose down. So adjusting the RPMs now as well for all the 3 engines, and afterwards also adjusting the swivel mechanism for the side engines, but just to a 30-degree angle first. As the landing field here at this farmer's field is really short, really small, I would like to first have the ship almost standing in the air, and then I just small steps forward, go down more controlled, so that's why it looks a bit special now here, but this is at least how it robustly worked so far to bring the ship at this field down. And finally we landed, even though it was a bit harder than I wanted to. It's always a bit tricky to have the, let's say, full reverse while, let's say, tilted to 60, 90, whatever. You then adjust to, let's say, get the ship based on the ground. But in the end, as you can see, it worked well. It bounced a bit too much for me, but anyway, it safely got on the ground. And I hope you enjoyed this beautiful scenic ride over Frankfurt. Landing can be improved, so in one of the next videos for sure. So if you liked it, I would be happy to see that you like it, and follow me for more. That was your Blimp Hunter, all about airships. Bye.